Hello, everyone. I believe we have started. Let me just double check. Yes, I think we have started, everyone. Good evening, and thanks all for being here. And for some of you, it is good afternoon and good morning. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope it's been a wonderful day, and I hope it's been a really good family celebration, and I hope it's been great meals and a lovely, relaxing time, pleasant time. Yeah, just give me a one in the chat, of course, to let me know that my audio is coming through. You know how good I am at actually messing up my audio. That's one of my prime technical skills. Amazing. I used to build really advanced security systems, but I always forget to fix my YouTube audio. Okay, that's good. So, Sergeant Grinch, welcome. Quinn Blessed, XYZ, always good to have you. Good to see you again. I'm glad you had a good lunch, but I sympathize with you on the need to have that nap. Villainous, very welcome. Andrew, good to see you. Francisco, Pedro, BBB, Conospiros, Mick M, of course. Horse, of course. Cannot forget. Yeah. So I hope Albania is doing well. Okay, just Janice. So guys, thanks all for being here. Just wanted to show you, this here is a list of, it's a little hard to read, but this is 42, these are 42 presentations that are either begun, half finished, or close to being finished. So I've been doing a lot of work in the background. Actually, this one is done. Well, as an article, it was done, but this very first one, I follow the Bible. It's actually something I was writing a longer talk on. So I've got 42 here, and then I've got another 115. So I've got a bunch of them, and I've got a few more stuff here. So yeah, so there's a lot of these that I still want to do and present. The point of this talk, which is scientific paganism, the subtitle I have here on my slide is when 6th century BC philosophical squabbles became science, is to show that what is often presented as scientific or science, and this atheist idea that science is materialistic, is actually a pagan idea from 2600 years ago, 2200 years ago. It is nothing new. It is nothing original. It was pagan then. It is pagan now, even if you slap the word science on top of it. There will be a second part to this. I've got a follow-up to this. And the reason for this is that we've been working through logic and scholasticism. And we are working now towards the Catholic Church. We're working towards Pius X. I'm kicking that off in January, on the 7th of January, Sunday evening, with Mel. And he wrote about the synthesis of all heresies. And we need to understand, because I've been reading a lot of his works, we need to understand what are these heresies that he was speaking of. Because they are a synthesis, certainly, but what are the individual components? What are the parts? What are the original sources of these heresies? And this is one of them. He names names, he names particular heresies, he names particular ideologies, he names particular ideas. We need to understand these. We need to know exactly what they are. We need to be able to identify them. And Pius X calls them, these are our enemies. These are enemies of the church. You need to know your enemy. Barrington, very welcome. 1278, very welcome. What's my opinion on Napoleon? I'm watching the movie tomorrow evening. My opinion on Napoleon, opportunist. I don't know that much about the guy. I really don't know that much about him, but I probably do a look into him at some point. The only sort of brief overlap I've had with him is with the what happened in France. Good grief, the name has just escaped me. When he took over the French government after the collapse of the French Revolution. Pedro Jr. says everything in one of these series is new, and it is scary and fascinating the way you connect these old and evil ideas to the modern world. I love these, by the way. Thank you very much. Glad to hear it. Welcome, Dragon. Always good to see you. Damian Kuzmich, good to see you. So, yeah. Now, of course, we're starting to see overlap. We're starting to see connections between these. We're starting to see none of these new ideas are that new. They're old ideas. They're just repackaged. And of course, error will always lead to error, and people will put their own personal stamp on it. So you have these variations, but it's variations on the same theme. Yes, they love the pagan philosophers. The Enlightenment thinkers of the Enlightenment era, but also the French Revolution, also loved these pagan philosophers. It is pagan philosophy. We're going to look at that today. So next week, I should do a more thorough, shall we say, scientific overview of it in terms of explaining the errors within this. But here's just to look at some of the history. Ancient pagan Greeks. Yes, that is true. I haven't been to Greece yet. Okay, so let me begin. So very welcome, Nicodemus. Right, let's jump in and get my mouse pointer up. Excellent. Right, scientific paganism. When 6th century BC philosophical squabbles became science. Some of you will have seen this slide before, but for those who are new, you may not be familiar with this. So we are going to briefly touch on humanism and atheism, which effectively, for our purposes, are the same thing. And we need to go back to 5th century BC paganism. So we're looking at a period between roughly 6 centuries BC to 2 centuries BC, so roughly in that period. And this is from a book, or rather, a thesis written in 1935 called The Humanism of Charles Francis Potter and Roy Wood Sellers by Abner James Langley of Boston University. And he writes in, this is very important, this comes up all the time, you'll find these ideas coming up all the time. The term can be used to describe the intellectual movement of the 5th century BC in Greece. This was initiated by the sophists and carried on by Socrates. The spirit of this movement is well expressed in that famous maxim given to posterity by Protagoras, where he said that man is the measure of all things. That phrase is very important. This is very important to humanists. It is very important to atheists. But there's more to this than we might be aware of, and we need to understand. The reason I'm putting these together is that if you're a Christian, you need to understand these philosophies are all designed to destroy Christianity. They're all designed to undermine the church, because once you reject that particular worldview, you must find another worldview. So they steal pieces of it, but because they don't have the truth, they reject the logos. They are built on a foundation of error. Their premises are flawed. So they've got some truth and they've got a lot of error. All the best lies have a little bit of truth. But also, there's something else you need to understand. So it's not just the rejection of Christianity and the church. There's also a worldview and a way of thinking that comes along with being a Christian. And this is the worldview that was ultimately developed by St. Thomas Aquinas and the Scholastics in the Middle Ages. And these philosophers ultimately, especially within the Enlightenment, are rejecting that form of logic. They're rejecting rigorous logic. So understand, they're not only rejecting the church, they're rejecting logic. Logic comes from the logos. God is the logos.